Hi guys, Yuki here, back with a extra episode, I think that's what they're called, of Seduce Me, called My Princess. This is about Erik. Guessing from the James one and the Sam's one, I'm assuming it's going to be anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes, and I thought, why not? I have a little bit of time before I actually leave, so why not get this out there before I go, and I guess this is more of a little treat. Anyways, let's get started. When you're dating someone, you expect surprises. Depending on who you're dating, the surprises can range from a new habit they may have or something that may have changed how you see them. When it comes to dating a demon, the possibilities become endless. That's right, I was in love with a demon. The many surprises he showed me included him being an incubus, him having tentacle powers, and him being an ex-noble from a large, expanding kingdom. I didn't think anything could take the cake on top of those things. I was wrong. Oh, okay. Well, at least we acknowledge what we all know. Hey, it's the Cameo of the car that everybody drives. In the first one, I found myself dressed to the nines, sitting in my fiancé's luxury car as we drove into the city of Chicago. I didn't wear fancy clothes often, so feeling the lavish fabrics of the gown I was wearing against my skin was almost uncomfortable. I wish we went to go see like a play or something. That'd be awesome, but we're probably going to like a dinner. Or an opera. I don't know. Still, I had to admit, when I saw myself in the mirror, I was floored at how I looked. Well, you got the confidence. I was in a beautifully designed red and black dress with matching heels and jeweled accessories. I still would never know how Erik was able to obtain it all, but he gifted the gown, the shoes, the jewelry to me with a simple smile. A part of me knew that he had made the dress by hand. He owned a custom suit shop and had access to the finest fabrics in the city. His skills wasn't limited to suits, however. He couldn't make anything that was deemed as a formal wear. Oh, is that... maybe, well, if we were talking about Seducing 2, and if we weren't doing his route, maybe he would have made the dress. That'd be cool. As for the shoes and jewelry, I couldn't figure it out and decided to let it go. The drive into the city became one filled with curiosity. Why did I have to be dressed up? Where exactly were we going? Maybe an opening fashion show? That'd be cool. Erik?
Yes, my princess?
Where are we going? A chuckle escaped Erik's lips as he continued to drive into the night.
I told you, it's a surprise.
A surprise that requires me to dress up like I'm going to a prom?
Not a prom, exactly.
Erik. Erik's smile grew as he lowered a hand from the wheel and took a gentle hold of mine, bringing it to his lips and laying a butterfly kiss over it.
I promise you will enjoy yourself. You have my word.
I stared at Erik, a small blush adorning my face at his gentle words and kiss. Giving up at last, I nodded and simply let him guide us further into the heart of the city. Chicago was a beautiful city, especially at night. The lights that illuminated the streets and buildings were a grand sight to behold, and the lively aura of the night's energy that filled every alley and sidewalk was simply enchanting. You could take me out of Chicago, but you'd never take the love of Chicago out of me. To my surprise, the traffic towards our destination was almost non-existent. We were in the richest part of Chicago, and at last we arrived at our destination, one that took me completely off guard. The outside looked like a regular business building. At the very top of the tower was a large sign that said, "The Gateway," in bright yellow colors. Something about it stood out somehow, which made me curious. What was in store in this place? Erik led me out of the car, opening my door for me and escorting me out with a gentle hand. As he closed the door behind me, a man dressed in a bellboy suit rushed up to Erik and held out his hands. "Is this a hotel?" Erik dug his hands into his tuxedo pocket and finally took out a small white envelope, passing it and his car keys to the bellboy. The bellboy took the items and quickly rushed to the driver's side of the car, driving it off like a valet. I watched the car head into a nearby parking lot as I unconsciously took Erik's arm. As I turned back to him, I could tell that I was in for more surprises. He handed me a mask. Ooh, a masquerade! And silently instructed me to put it on as we walked up to the steps of the door. It fit like a glove. A pair of bellboys opened the door for Erik and me, revealing a lavish lobby with a single large pedestal platform in the middle of the room. Am I gonna be a princess? Am I gonna get my own throne? Setting up to it, we were stopped by a large woman in a dress suit.
Invitation?
I know that voice. I looked at Erik, watching him take out a golden slip of paper from his pocket and pass it to the woman. The guard looked over the parchment before nodding to Erik and stepping away from our path to the pedestal. Where on earth were we going? I remained silent still as we stepped up to the platform and settled in the middle of it, Erik guiding us to stop and stay still in place. Erik nodded to the guard, who simply nodded back and waved her hand in the air. As she did, the pedestal beneath us suddenly shifted and began to rise into the air. Whoa! This is so elaborate. I gripped Erik tightly as the platform beneath us ascended through the building. All around us were sights of pictures and diamond chandeliers. Whatever this was, I could tell that this was by no means a regular event. When we reached the top floor, or what I assumed to be the top floor, we were greeted by a pair of women in waitress suits bowing to us in respect. As their bird-tail feathers and pure black eyes presented themselves to me, I knew that this was a demon party. Oh. The doors opened to a large ballroom, one that definitely didn't seem to fit the inside of a suite room. All around were couples and groups mingling and dancing elegantly to the sound of Victorian-style orchestral music. I was astonished, even as I was led in by Erik. Everyone was dressed in modern formal wear with a range of dresses and tuxedos. It was almost dizzying how much the aged music clashed with the modern fashion of the patrons. Yet I couldn't tear my eyes away from the sight of the guests. Wow.
Welcome to a small taste of the demon world, my princess.
Okay. The guests were all demons, some with horns, some with tails, and the rest with an assortment of different looks. It was a conglomerate of people, and I felt a bit out of place as someone who looked obviously human. As we stepped further into the space, a voice chirped out.
Erik, my boy! Come, fly over here, will you?
That voice sounds familiar as well. I looked over to see a Birdman with a polished tuxedo wave over with a very handsome gentleman with mouse ears on his arm. Aww. Despite the nerves running through my system, Erik and I walked over. As Erik bowed his head, I quickly curtsied. For some reason, the way the Birdman carried himself made him seem like a prince. I was in awe of his gorgeous tail feathers and beak, accented by the lavish suit he wore.
Connor, you look splendid. I assume you approve of your tuxedo?
Approve? I absolutely love it! Ricardo here won't let go of me because of it.
I looked over at the mouse man, whom I assumed to be Ricardo, as he smiled coyly and hugged Connor's arm tight, nodding in agreement of Connor's words. I smiled a bit at as Erik laughed.
Very good. Well, thank you for inviting us to your anniversary celebration. It is an honor to be in such company.
Nonsense! Thank you for attending! As the son of the most powerful demon in the abyssal planes, it's only proper to invite you regardless. My only regret is not inviting your brothers. I must seem so rude.
Erik waved his hand dismissively.
Think nothing of it. We actually denounced our titles when we came to this world.
Oh, are we gonna get kicked out?
You don't say! Well, good on you! You do such fabulous work as a designer here. It's no wonder that your suit shop is unmatched.
Oh, okay. Connor finally turned his head to me and cocked it out in curiosity. I felt a bit small under his gaze, but smiled respectfully back.
And who might this lovely lady be? A human?
I don't know, Erik. Am I a human? Erik nodded and lifted my hand to his lips, kissing it respectfully before our conversation partners.
This is my wonderful princess. I asked her to accompany me tonight to show her how elegant a demon ball can be.
How marvelous! I rarely get to meet humans. It is an absolute delight to meet you.
Connor held out his hand towards me, making me place my hand in it out of manners. Instead of kissing my hand, he lifted it to his beak and very gently nipped a couple times at the back of it, making me giggle a bit. It's a pleasure to meet you too. Connor released my hand and smiled at me before looking back at Erik.
Well, Erik, princess, it's been an absolute pleasure to meet you. Please enjoy the ball. Dance and eat as much as you like.
We shall, thank you.
With that, Erik and I walked away from Connor and Ricardo, both of whom were waving at us before turning to find new conversation partners. So this is a demon ball?
Yes, princess. You've been curious about what life was like for me in the demon world, yes?
I nodded. I was indeed curious about Erik's life in the demon world, but I didn't expect him to give me an experience. This was completely out of the blue. I hope nothing weird happens. Erik gestured to the room where the couples on the dance floor were waltzing in sync. It was mesmerizing.
Well, this is a perfect representation of how Demon Royals celebrated. We had elegant balls filled with dancing and food, and they would only end when the sun came up.
Really? I thought the demon world was like the Dark Ages. This seems like a fairy tale ball. Not really medieval. Erik chuckled and walked with me around the dance floor, continuing his explanation.
The demon world may be stuck in the Dark Ages, but we do take inspiration from the human world. Your fairy tales inspired our celebrations.
I couldn't stop staring at the dancers and the demons in the room. There were so many people dressed up like royalty that I felt almost underdressed. There were some glances my way, but none with ill intent. It was probably natural since I was a human in a room full of demons. Slyly, Erik led me onto the dance floor and began to waltz with me to the music. We remained outside of the crowd, dancing on our own beat and sways as the rest of the dancers kept in time and step with the synchronized dancing. So, instead of getting phones and computers, you get balls and dresses?
You are correct. The demon world has no need for computers or phones, but new traditions of celebration are always welcomed.
Aw. No raves or clubs?
Too human for our tastes.
No light shows or DJs?
That would require electricity, my princess, which we don't care to use. To us, it's a waste of energy.
I pursed my lips at Erik as he slowly began to ease us into the crowd. I barely noticed the dancers moving aside and stopping their dances to stare at us as I locked eyes with Erik, continuing the conversation. Do demons have balls often?
Unfortunately, no. Hosting celebrations take a large amount of resources, so we save balls for only the most grand of occasions.
Like birthdays?
Demons don't celebrate birthdays, princess. However, we celebrate the peaceful uniting of kingdoms or the crowning of a new ruler.
I became fascinated. Even as Erik began to twirl me around and add elaborate steps into the dance between us, we both focused on each other as we let the world around us fade into a blurred outline of people and decor.
However, the human world has provided demons here the means to celebrate many more things.
Like Connor's anniversary? Erik nodded and dipped me for a moment, staring deep into my eyes.
Exactly.
Oh! I held on to Erik, mesmerized in his lovely purple eyes. I squeezed his hand gently and caused him to lift me back up and hold me close in a loving embrace.
And one day, I would love to hold an elegant ball for our union.
Erik. My face began to glow a soft, rosy red as I smiled up at my prince. I loved him with every ounce of my being, and a fairy tale wedding and ball seemed like a perfect way to celebrate it. I stretched up on my toes and kissed Erik ever so gently before pulling away with a giggle. I would love that. Erik stared at me in surprise for a moment before chuckling and nuzzling his head against mine, a playful but loving smirk against his lips.
My beautiful princess, I am yours forever.
Aw, that's so cute. And I am yours, my Prince Charming. And the night became one of fairy tale dancing and seemingly happily ever after for me and my demon prince. Aw, that was really cute. Hashtag Obeyrus. Dang. Alright then. I guess that's his thing too. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!